Hey guys, Dazzler Magic here, and it's time to go through another MTG mistakes. And I see this one somewhat commonly. It's definitely worth mentioning because, as you probably saw in this series, I really hate it when so-called pros, which are really just people who've been playing for a while and kind of know what they're talking about, they say something just absolutely not true. Like, they give just horrible advice to new players, either on purpose because they think it's funny or because they're just wrong and they don't know deck building and they don't know math. Kind of goes hand in hand with being a net decker, obviously. So how many times have you heard this? Oh, that's legendary, so you shouldn't have 4 of it in the deck. Well, you guys know the legendary rule. If you bring out 2 of the same named creature or the same planeswalker type, same thing, different rule, you have to just choose one, and then whichever one you choose gets kept and the other one gets destroyed. I'm sure I phrased that completely differently than the actual rules, but you get it. So if you've got one legendary creature on the battlefield and the same copy of it, another one in your hand, well, you've got a dead useless card, right? Well, no, obviously that's completely wrong. That just by definition that's wrong. But I can see where they're coming from. I mean, it could have been a different creature had you built your deck differently. Maybe. I mean, unless you number them and then just say, I would have taken out number 4, and then number 4 is either sitting on the battlefield or sitting in your hand, okay. But even with 3, you could definitely only pull, from that pool. In other words, you could have 2 of them in your hand at once if you have 3, or if you have 2 left in the deck. It still could happen. But let's talk about could happen, because you guys know I love me some probability. So let's be generous. Turn 8. So you drew 7 cards, no mulligan, we'll say, plus you drew 8 times. So you'd have taken 8 turns. At that point, your probability, if there's 4 cards, all identical, that are all legendary, in your deck, your probability of pulling 2 or more of them is 25.79%. So in about 1 in 4 games that go to turn 8, you would be expected to pull the same creature twice. That isn't what I would call non-existent odds, but it's pretty long odds. I mean, like I said, 1 in 4 games. So to have what a lot of people refer to as a dead card in your hand 1 in 4 games, whatever, it's still detrimental. I mean, it's still a couple % less likely to win, right? Well, here's where I draw the line. Why is the legendary creature in your deck in the first place? Now, let's take one example. Let's look at Gisela the Broken Blade. So she is a 4/3 flyer for 4 with first strike and lifelink. She is insane. So since nobody plays Bruna, let's just ignore the whole meld flippy thing because, like I said, nobody plays it. So I would say this is in your deck because you want to do damage in the air, you want to kill stuff with first strike, and you want to gain life. And she does all 3. So she's just there self-contained. So since she is, in most decks that are that style, they just want to gain life, kill stuff, and swing in the air and do damage, she's just the best at it. She's the absolute best card in that deck, most likely. So you would want 4 in there just surely because she's the best, but also because she's the number 1 target for removal. So if anything happened to her, that's perfectly fine that you had one in your hand the whole time. I mean, even if nothing happened to her. So it's really just a binary condition. Oh no, they blew her up. Good thing I had another one in my hand. I mean, yeah, it's a shame I couldn't put them out whenever I wanted, but at least I had a replacement for when she died. The other possibility is she never dies. You never have to chump block with her, nothing. She never takes, red damage, whatever. She's just out there for the whole game. Well, then you're probably going to win. Who cares if you had a second one in your hand? It's virtually inconceivable probability-wise that because you couldn't get out 2 Giselas, or effectively a Gisela and a slightly lesser non-legendary creature, that you would have lost the game because of that. Because already it's a 25% chance that they'd even show up in your hand in the first place, like together. Or I should say be drawn twice in the same game. And then they have to not kill the first one and also not lose the game while the first one is out, and also beat you specifically because a second creature was not out to block. That was the dividing line between winning and losing. So in other words, it's astronomical odds. I mean, you should never, ever cut down on the number of Giselas in a deck because she's just a single combat soldier, no combos, nothing. Now, it almost goes without saying, if it is a legendary creature, but it's a card and card combo, so it's a 4 and 4 combo. You got 4 Giselas I can't imagine what combo would go off with her, but, and then, something else that says when an angel enters the battlefield, blah, 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 whatever. So you want 4 of those cards and 4 of the other cards, at least 1 and 1 to match up. Well, then don't cut it to 3, obviously. I mean, because you really want the combo to go off. You're killing your odds if you reduce it to 7 total cards instead of 8. So if it's a piece in the combo, yeah, put in 4. Put in 4 all day, every day, no matter what. Now, if you're playing a flood deck, a tribal deck, or some kind of quantity deck, maybe like a devotion deck from Theros, where you just need to dump out the maximum amount of permanents onto the battlefield, or creatures or whatever, just the max possible, then you might want to consider, if one of those is legendary, cutting it down to 3. So before I forget to mention it, if you cut it to 3, okay, 15 cards drawn, turn 8, 7 plus 8, your chances of getting 2 or more in your hand are 15% if you drop it to 3. Okay, somebody's going to ask, 2 cards out of 60, if you cut it to 2, your probability is 6%. Virtually negligible. But anyway, I mean, a drop from 25% to a mere like 15-ish percent by going to 3, that's pretty darn good. I mean, you're not going to see those 2 cards together in a whole lot of games. So let's talk about my other example where you're just going for sheer quantity. We're talking like Metalcraft, Affinity, Devotion, blah, blah, blah for each elf, blah, blah, blah for each, tribal, just for every goblin do this, something like that. And the most classic example of that, the most direct example, is definitely Devotion. So let's talk about Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. She's a 3-cost, 3 loyalty, really quite good as just an annoying utility, blocker, jump blocker generator. She can make all your creatures 1 bigger, which can interrupt combat, and her ult isn't as good as other ults, but it's good. I mean, it's definitely good in general. Just takes the pressure off you. It's just an overall good card, but it's not like, oh my god, Ob Nixilis, I need to get his emblem off. Like, that's how I win the game. Okay, then I'd put in 4 Ob Nixilises. But let's look at this. So let's say you're running a deck with, Karametra's Acolyte, classic card, and the land that does the same thing, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. So with Karametra's, you add an amount of green mana to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green. So would you put in 4 Nissa, Voice of Zendikars if you're trying to get to the absolute highest peak amount of green devotion possible in the shortest amount of time? I probably wouldn't, because that 25% is going to come back to bite you once in a great while. Now, I mean, 2 green devotion for 3 mana is pretty good. I mean, there's a little bit better cards like Avatar of the Resolute out there, but she's not bad, especially, being a planeswalker. Hello. But in a devotion deck, I think I would cut her to 3, if not 2. I mean, just depends how important the other cards are relative to her, but just for repetitiveness, I would probably throw out one of the 4. And of course, I'm just assuming, Planeswalker equals legendary, basically. It's the same as the legendary rule, pretty much. Now, I know there's all kinds of tricks you can do. Like, you can +1 her, and then replace her with the legendary rule with a second cast, and then -2, and you get the plant included in it. Or you could ult her and then bring out another one. There's all kinds of fun stuff with the legendary rule, just like Nykthos. There's the Nykthos doubling trick because of legendary, but you wouldn't have 4 green mana for your cast cost, you'd have 2, because you can't have 2 out on the battlefield at once. So in that case, I would cut the number, but like I said with Gisela, if it's just, hey, this is the best creature, my sheer probability of having 2 in hand is pretty low, and honestly, I'd love to have a replacement already in my hand in case they blow her up. So hopefully you get my meaning. I mean, if the creature is legendary, but it's part of some kind of build-up, some kind of quantifiable count, some kind of board presence, you're trying to overflow your enemy, you're trying to gain life for every creature on the battlefield, a deck like that, yeah, I would get rid of legendaries because then it's just too detrimental. I would cut them to 3, not get rid of them, obviously. They're legendary for a reason, and they basically said, the R&D staff said that they throw legendary on something just to, mark the fact that it's overpowered, basically, and just pump the brakes a little tiny bit. So it usually indicates, yeah, you're using the best of the best. So there's only one more thing that I have to address because I know somebody's going to say it in the comment section. Oh, but Des, you could pull 3 of them, 3 of the same card. Then you're completely screwed because you don't need 2 replacement copies, probably, and now you've got 2 dead cards in your hand. Yes, that would suck. That scenario is crap, and you'll probably lose the game because of it. Thank God it's a 4.47% chance. Yes, I'd love to have that happen 1 in every, 20-some games. I mean, more than 1 in 20 games, you're just going to get mana screwed and have to mulligan. So, I mean, you're going to lose them for a different reason. And plus, even with 2 in the hand, if it's not getting blown up when it's on the battlefield and it's a Gisela, you're probably winning. You only have to hit them 5 times to win the game in most cases. So, 1 out is probably enough. So definitely take it on a case-by-case basis when it comes to determining if legendary, I almost said legendary Pokemon, oh my god. I'm actually trying to catch a really high-level Squirtle right now while I'm recording this. Oh, good, I caught him. But anyway, take legendary cards of any kind, just case by case. Do you need it to build up, and it's just a good card? Or is it a completely standalone card where you're perfectly okay to have 4? Hopefully that helps you guys out. You can build your decks properly now, and I will see you guys next video.